Bridge the Gap podcast. My name's Jennifer. I am an emotional literacy specialist, early years professional, and one of the directors at Bridge the Gap Child Mental Health CIC.
And I'm Nikki Webster. I'm co-director alongside Jennifer at Bridge the Gap. I'm a mental health nurse with 17 years experience and a qualified therapist.
We got a question, didn't we, about teens?
We did. And connecting with them.
Yes.
Which is tricky.
It is tricky, and to give you guys context, if this is the first time you've listened to us, that myself, my children are adults now, they're 18 and 24, so I've been through those teen years, and you're just entering into them,
I'm on the journey. So
Yeah.
I have a very nearly 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and decided to have another baby. He's 1.
So between us, lots of different ages to reflect upon. I wanted to start this conversation with a bit of honesty around how difficult it can be to let go of the little child that they were when they hit teens. I found that incredibly difficult, and not necessarily always when they turned 13, but at different points when things happened during their teenage years. And there was one time where I felt like I was grieving the loss, and I can remember one significant moment, and actually my son was probably only around 9 years old, but he had a bad accident and he broke his arm really badly, went through both bones, he was in hospital, needed surgery. And I remember we were at the hospital and he asked me to take his shoes and socks off, and I was taking those off, and I just remember touching his feet and thinking, these are really like not little boy feet anymore. And I know that sounds so strange, but I just was able to almost zoom out a little bit and see this young boy for the younger man that he's becoming, and he wasn't even a teenager then. So I think it's natural you go through those stages, like the first time you walk into their room and it just stinks, and all of those, you know, that little boy smell sort of gone and it's replaced by teenage scent. Whether that's Lynx Africa or whether it's just sweat, but it's a very different scent. I found those stages quite difficult, and I felt really tearful, and I do think it's okay for us to feel like that, because although they are the same person, you're letting go of a stage of them and a version of them that you can't go back to.
That's it. Be kind to yourself with that, because absolutely I can relate to what you're saying, and I'm obviously at the start of this journey with my eldest, so all of that to come. And I remember you saying to me they change overnight, or it feels like they change overnight when they start secondary school, and it certainly has felt like that. So I've got one in year 8 now and one who's just started in year 7, and that shift with my year 7 is starting to happen, so I'm at the real kind of start of that journey. He's the youngest in his year as well, so there's all of that to navigate alongside. My friends have started doing this and I'm not quite there yet. It's so difficult, isn't it? But change is difficult, and there's so much uncertainty, and uncertainty actually is one of the hardest emotions we have to sit with as adults and children, as humans. Uncertainty is very, very difficult, and that is primarily because we feel out of control. And actually that sums it up nicely, is we feel out of control of this situation. There's things and little people in our life that are changing into different people, into young adults,
and we don't know that version of them yet. So we're having to get to know them at the same time as they're trying to get to know themselves at that point. And developmentally, it's really natural for them to try and move away and form their own sense of identity away from their immediate caregivers at that time. It's really normal. But that for us as parents, I think, can feel like rejection. And I think that can often fuel uncomfortable conversations that we ourselves are quite triggered. So that's why one of the reasons, there's many reasons why you can find yourself feeling disconnected from your teen. And at the same time, everything you do is likely to be embarrassing to them, whereas they used to look up to you with just adoration and aren't mum and dad wonderful, to now being, oh my gosh, you're so embarrassing, and you're not letting me do this and you're not letting me do that. You know, the desire to fit in at that age is strong, and it's the first time as well. So young children under 7 tend to be very egocentric. The world revolves around them. They're very self-centered. It's normal. Doesn't mean they're bad people. It's just developmentally where they're at. And although teenagers are known for being quite selfish, I actually think they are naturally just much more self-critical at that age, and they tend to have lower self-esteem. And that low self-esteem can present itself in various different forms, whether that is being mean and unkind, or whether that's sheltering yourself away, or whether that is maybe unhealthy behaviours. But I think a really good tip to reconnect with your teen that I used and was helpful was letting them overhear you talk positively about them without them knowing that you know they're hearing. Does that make sense?
But it's powerful. Yeah. I know what you're trying to say, or what you are saying. It's powerful. It's you're incidentally talking about them in their earshot.
Yeah.
And actually, for example, if you were on the phone to grandma, or you're on the phone to your husband, or whatever, whoever that is, and they are incidentally hearing that you're talking in a positive way about them, not just about them, but something really specific that perhaps they've done. Yeah. And I do this a lot with my husband, or when I'm talking on the phone to my mum, is I'll say, oh, you know, my daughter's been really kind today towards a friend that she helped out. And just, I know that she's listening. She's not perhaps tuned into that conversation, but I know that that's going to land somewhere in her subconscious mind that actually, Mum really thinks I'm kind. Yeah. That's such a powerful, embedded approach to supporting self-esteem, isn't it? I was laughing then when you were talking, because this was us last night. Absolutely us last night, because I'd got home from work, probably about 5 o'clock, 5:30. My daughter completely is in her room most of the time, or what feels like to me as a parent now. And I went up to her room, this is probably by 6:30 after I'd made dinner. I was like, your dinner's ready. I've not even seen you. I've not even seen you in this hour that I've been home. Are you all right? How was your day? You know, as you do. And she's just like grunting and get out my room, I'm watching this film. And it feels so disconnecting. And exactly what you were saying, I want to connect with her, and she is trying to explore all the things that she's enjoying, like watching this new film that she's got, and enjoying doing her nails. That's the other thing she was doing straight after the film. She's finding out who she is and what is her identity. And that feels so difficult and disconnecting as a parent, because you're thinking, hold on a minute, I've not even seen her for a whole evening, what's going on? That's the other thing, your mind's going, what's she doing in her bedroom? What's she getting up to?
Start telling yourself stories.
You do.
I think that discomfort I can really relate to. Another tip that I would really, really explore is the power of 10. And I did this with both of mine, and I still do it with my youngest, who's 18. She's still at home for now. And that is still going on those days. So when I come in from work, even now, everything in me does not want to remove myself. I want to just put my bag and coat down, and you've got 2 other children to navigate as well. But actually just putting that bag down, I go and find her wherever she is, and I just poke my head round the door. And I say, hey, I'm home, how's your day been? If she's busy, I'll sometimes just perch on the end of the bed. And that's still keeping you within her remit and in her presence, and that's been really helpful, even for me now, to feel connected, because I do notice that when we've not had those touch points, those gentle, subtle touch points, I can feel more disconnected. And for my son, when he was needing more than that, it was for me going in every day and accepting the eye rolls that would create, and not taking that personally, and just going in and sitting on the end of the bed for 10 minutes and just not asking anything from him really, and him knowing that was going to happen every day really helped him to begin to share more of what he was feeling, or things that were happening for him in his life. So that was really powerful and important actually. So I know it can feel uncomfortable when your teen's getting older and they are distancing themselves from you, but they love you more than anything. They're just trying to find their way at the same time as you're trying to find your way navigating this part of parenting and getting to know this whole new person. And those safe touches as well. When they're little, it's so easy, isn't it, to wrap them up and cuddle them. And some children love that, some children don't. But I do find even now those little subtle touches really helpful. And I've noticed actually this week that I've been putting them in more with I say youngest, she's 18, right? But she's still my little girl, and you still want to feel connected. It doesn't matter whether they're 18 or 30 or 3, you want to feel connected. And I've noticed since I've just been doing these safe touches, so putting my hand on the small of her back, or going in when I come back from work, just tapping their leg and, hey, how was uni or whatever, that she started to come to me more again. And last night she came and lay on the sofa with me, put her head on my lap, and I just started stroking her hair. And I've noticed because you forget this stuff, I do this stuff, this is my job, I've done it before, but equally life's so busy you can forget. And actually leaning back into that, putting those simple relationship focused strategies in place have made a huge difference. And they help you to know that you're doing those things, you are showing up, you are being present.
Actually, for all of us, whether we're children, whether we're adults, we need connection. And the world feels less connected than it's ever felt, I think, at the moment. And that's a real difficult thing to navigate and also parent through, because you're also parenting around something completely different from what we've known as children, i.e. social media. But children and humans, we both need connection, we need control. And they're the two main things to balance mental health. As soon as we start to feel disconnected, it affects us and it affects our mental state. So when we feel disconnected from our partners, when we feel disconnected from friends, when we feel disconnected from our children, that's going to affect us in our day-to-day, in our work lives. And then when we feel out of control, coming back to that uncertainty and sitting with change, as soon as we start to feel out of control, that affects our mental state. So we start to feel more sad potentially, we start to feel angry, most of all we start to feel anxious, because that's the absolute link there is between control and anxiety. So another really great tip is to consider, how do I embed an element of control into my teen's world? So that would usually come in the form of choice. So what choice are we giving them? Is that we're allowing them to choose within safe parameters how they present themselves. So, wearing makeup or choosing their clothing. I know that there's difficult conversations around, and we had one this morning, around school uniform and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. But that's exactly that. They're pushing the boundaries because they're exploring control and choice. They're exploring who they are, where they fit in the world. We are primed as human beings to fit in. And as teenagers, it's a really awkward stage, and I remember it well for myself. We desperately want to fit in, don't we?
Yeah, because back in, caveman times, if we were rejected from our tribe, we'd probably get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. You wouldn't be welcomed in by another one. So going back then a little bit, I want to ask you something around this disconnection and going a little bit deeper. You talked there about the children feeling disconnected and us feeling disconnected from so many things as a result of how fast and cognitive this world is. Do you think there's an element when our children get older and hit teen years where we feel disconnected from ourselves because so much of our parental identity is shifting?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point, isn't it? Because our own identity is perhaps in question. You've been, and it's interesting because I'm obviously at different parenting stages and ages at the moment as well. So I've got 2 older ones, I've got a very young one, and they need me in different ways. So my identity is shifting. So you're absolutely right, you're questioning, I was a minute ago, or so it felt, putting my child to bed, giving them a cuddle and a kiss. And now they don't seem to want that.
And it can happen so quickly. I remember being so bereft when I no longer had to do the school run, which is hilarious because I never even liked the
And we
school
probably
run.
moaned about it at the time.
Absolutely. But I remember, because there's 6 years between my 2 as well, I remember thinking this has been just such a huge part of my life, my whole adult life really, proper adult life. quite sure what
Yeah.
my life looked like without that huge part of it. And equally, by the way, if you don't feel this way about these changes, that's normal too.
Yeah,
Everybody is
okay.
different. Absolutely. I know so many of my friends that are just so relieved that that part is over and that they've got this new element. And I will say there are so many pluses to this stage and this age, and you're absolutely right. Your children still need you. My children still need me. And it's interesting. I had a really interesting conversation with my son actually on Sunday. I try and share information that isn't invading any privacy at all, but he was saying how our relationship is that we're so close, and he could come to me if he needs to talk to me about anything or vent to me about anything, but he doesn't need me for the day-to-day things anymore, and that he feels that that's good, that if he wants me, he knows he can speak to me and ask for it.
That's amazing, isn't it? That's what we're all striving for.
Yeah, and I just thought, you know what, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
That's really cool.
that's not happened overnight, let me tell you. But it's really important to remember that they want you is different to them needing you, and to hear that from an adult child, I know you're there, I know I can vent, and I want you when I do that, but I don't need you to get me to work, I don't need you to feed me, I don't need you to do all of those things. That's really
That's where
special.
the shift is. That's
It
the
is.
shift, isn't it?
And that's a different kind of relationship. But if any of you are in the midst of it where you're thinking, well, my teen hates me and they don't want to spend any time with me, I've been there, honestly. It can you can get through that, and it does improve. But it is, I always say it, but stripping it back down to basics. I almost think we look at our teens, they're a little bit scary. Do you not think sometimes they can feel
my
scary.
eldest at the moment.
And you can end up walking on eggshells.
Yeah, you
So
can.
do you think stripping it back to basics is a helpful?
Definitely, putting in power of 10 minutes, as we've talked about, building that connection. If you're not there yet and we want to meet them where they are, not force them to be where we want them to be, that's really important to remember. Difficult, but important to remember. Is, if they're not there at the stage where you feel that you can do that, even connecting over a funny text message or a meme or a TikTok that you send in each other, all of that matters. Having a family joke, potentially, that's really important as well. We've got, I won't go into it now, but a funny message that I've sent my kids just today is just one word, and they know exactly what that is because it's our family kind of joke, and it's immediately that building connection. I just wanted to go back to what you were saying as well about that identity shift for us as parents. I think that becomes harder when we are not following what matters to us and what we value. Because as we grow older, our whole identity is maybe become wrapped up in, oh, I'm a mum now, or I'm a dad now, or I'm a carer now. And everything else tends to fall away, doesn't it? So perhaps, you were talking about you started dancing again. That's fantastic. And I was saying, oh my goodness, what is my hobby? What is my thing? I've not had that for so long because I've just been mum. And actually, if we've not had those things in our life and we're not living by what is important to us, regardless of our mum title or dad title, then that can feel more difficult.
It's exciting when you think you can get to the point where it's your time to maybe explore some of that again, but also if you don't have to wait for that until your children are older, I think that can help buffer that shift and change. It's hard, isn't it, because we're working, we're trying to be parents, we're trying to do it all, and we can't. So sometimes it's about accepting some of those plates are going to fall and prioritising the plates that are a bit more precious, and that is our relationships and our connections with those in our life, and especially our children, but also, as important, ourselves.
100%.
Well, we've rambled on a lot there about teens. Is there anything you want to add? Any tips or kind of words of wisdom for anyone who's in the midst of it all right now?
I think go easy on yourself. We talk about obviously self-care and embedding that and that being important. Don't underestimate how important that is. It doesn't need to be something huge. It can be something really little, really gentle that you're embedding into your day-to-day life, a tiny little habit that you're adding on. So, you know, just having a moment for yourself, if you can, stepping outside, taking a couple of breaths, or having a cup of tea in a tiny moment, 1 minute of peace. That stuff is really important. Be kind to yourself. Our children drink from our pool.
Yeah. I think my tip would be give them grace.
Yeah.
And include them in conversations and decisions that involve them. Let them see you listen to their voice. Let them know that their opinions do matter. So involve them in those conversations more around whether that's boundaries or things that are happening in your family world. Involve them, let their voice feel valuable to them, and give them grace for the tough days, because it's not that easy as a teen navigating this world. So yeah, that would be my tip as well. Thank you so much for being with us yet again. We've got so much content. If you've not explored the website or our digital offering, then please do so. It's all linked in the description box as always. And if you've got any topics that you'd like us to chat about like this, then why not send them over? Again, you can message us on all of our platforms. So take care, remember that you matter, you are loved, and you are not alone, and we'll see you on the next one.